We are going to be talking about Telerik Reporting in Fiddler today. So I want to start things off with a little bit of an AI message because everybody's doing AI now, and it has been the topic of 2025. Like 2025 has just been nonstop AI news. If you haven't heard of MCP yet, you'll hear about it today. But this has all been just ongoing information for the entire year. And this webinar will be no different. There's going to be tons of AI release info in here. Two of the big ones are going to be our Fiddler AI Assistant in MCP, and also our Telerik reporting section has some amazing AI integrations as well. But we have these two categories that we talk about with all of our products. We have developer productivity tools and AI coding tools. And these are things that are going to help you be productive, build and generate reports, get insights on reports, things like that. And then we have the end user features and AI powered components. And this is leveraging existing UI components and even creating some new ones that help you do things much easier, faster, and more intuitive through the use of AI, whether it's our data grid that you can use natural language to talk to, or our Telerik reporting that Rick will talk about later, that you can just enter natural language queries to and get information back immediately. Some really cool stuff. We have a lot of new things in Fiddler that are exciting. We have a brand new debugging assistant that is integrated right into the product itself. We have an MCP server for Fiddler, and this is something that I've just started using, and I think it is absolutely amazing. I'll show you a demo of that. And then there are additional features inside of the Fiddler UI that are going to help you with the Windows operating system, doing network capture. Reverse proxy is really accessible and easy to find now. Sessions and snapshots got a huge improvement. Custom certificate support, something that folks kept asking for, we addressed. And then automatic detection of the Cisco VPN. So we're going to start with the debugging assistant. So this is an assistant that is built directly into the Fiddler tool. And the debugging assistant right now is capable of answering all sorts of questions about how to use Telerik Fiddler and where to find things in the UI and much, much more. So this is a tool that's going to help you get more productive with Fiddler much faster. Fiddler can do a lot of things, and you can get lost in all of those things. And this is going to help you with that progression, that learning curve of getting in and discovering what the tool's capabilities are, because there's a lot there, right? There's a lot of capabilities. So the debugging assistant, if you have a question of how to get things done, how to deep dive into your debug sessions, where to find things in the UI, you can just pop open your debugging assistant and enter those questions there. So I want to show you really quick how this works. So I've got my Fiddler session up here. I'm just going to go in. I want to ask it about a new feature that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to say, tell me about the new reverse proxy feature. So this is a brand new feature. So it's going to search through its information and find exactly what I'm asking for. And here you can see that it's telling me what the reverse proxy mode does, how to what the configurations options are, and what some of the settings are, and how to configure it, and even some of the best use cases for using that reverse proxy feature. So we'll learn a little bit more about what the reverse proxy feature is, but I wanted to demo first how you can use this assistant to discover some of these new features and learn about them. And in addition to all of the things that it surfaced right here in chat, it's also given me a direct link into the documentation, so I can go in and deep dive into some of the features and learn even more about them. So you can use the assistant tool. You'll need to connect it to your own OpenAI key or your large language model that you're hosting in the cloud. And once you do that, you'll be able to come in and ask it questions like these. So I've got another one that I want to have some debugging help with. So I'm going to tell it, I have some JSON serialization issues in my C# app. How can Fiddler help me resolve it? I'm going to let it go off and think about that for a minute and see just exactly how it can do that. And you can see it can help capture the network data, inspect JSON payloads, identify serialization problems, and it's telling me different ways that I can navigate through the Fiddler UI and enable some of these behaviors. It also tells me that I can copy and paste things directly in here, and it'll help me answer questions. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back into the assistant here and just copy and paste one of the response payloads directly into it. And then I'm going to ask it a follow-up question here. I'm going to just say, what should the C# object look like? Like, what should that C# object look like that I want to serialize this data to? So I've got this JSON response, and I'm not quite sure what that C# object should be. And there you go. It responded back with some of the data examples and also what the shape should look like inside of C# to successfully serialize this data back. So got a nice workflow inside of Fiddler for these type of debugging scenarios. And there's just so much more that you can do now that that integration is there. We would like to know, how are you using Fiddler? And are you using it for any API related work? So
I think it's really a testament to the versatility of the tool.
yeah, I mean, it really can do a lot, especially if you do it. I mean, any application these days talks to network traffic. I don't think there's a whole lot of apps that are solely offline anymore, especially with AI. But you know, a lot of the web applications that I've built in the past, like we've had to have a tool like this just to you know, communicate with endpoints, see what payloads are coming back and forth. But maybe it wasn't exactly API development. But recently, that's what I've had to pivot to, is some API development. So it's interesting to have the feedback from folks here. It looks like we've got a lot of developers just using general features of it to build their applications out. So I think a lot of those folks are going to really enjoy this next feature. This is really cool stuff. I've had a lot of fun in 2025 trying out new MCP tools. If you're not familiar with MCP, you probably haven't opened your browser for the year and seen any news. You've avoided all social media. But MCP is Model Context Protocol, and this is a way for you to add tooling to your favorite large language model, GitHub Copilot, um, adding a lot of functionality to your models that are being used in your IDEs. So with Fiddler MCP integration, what you're able to do is identify, analyze, resolve issues, and not leave your IDE. And you could do it all through Copilot. And you can capture session data, query session data. You can do all sorts of really interesting things, much like you do with a command line. But what's cool about the MCP is it's using a large language model. And Rick and I were discussing before we even started today, like how cool natural language processing is. Like CLI is very clinical, right? You have to know the exact switches to turn on and off. But with a large language model and natural language processing, you just ask it with normal human language and it knows what to do. So let's check out how this actually works inside of Visual Studio Code. So the first demo here is just going to show you kind of the basics. And this is just telling Fiddler that, you know, we want to get the status of some traffic, and then we want to filter some sessions. So we could say apply the filtered set, or show the filtered sessions, and the tool is going to get and display those sessions right inside the IDE. So we could see that we've got 3 captured sessions, and it tells us a little bit of information about it. So that's just the basics, right? So we can get sessions, we can display sessions. Let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into that. So I've got a debugging session that I did earlier today, and this is inside of Visual Studio Code, and I have an application that I'm running that I'm testing out, and I'm trying to get some more information about it. So this is our project Progress Agentic RAG demo app that we're building, and we have a section here where we can ask Progress Agentic RAG about some data that's in our knowledge base, and get back some charts and stuff that are displayed in a Kendo chart. So I want to try to debug some of the traffic going back and forth between this application. So I'm going to do hashtag Fiddler in here, and I'm going to ask it to start capturing some of the session data. So I'll say capture sessions for, and then I'm just going to roughly say, I want progress.cloud is the URL that that traffic is going through. And Fiddler is going to come back and suggest that I set up a reverse proxy, and then it gives me the option to allow it to create that for me. So I'm going to go ahead and allow it to create that reverse proxy for me. And this is really nice because I didn't have to open up Fiddler and go into any of the UI. I can just let it do this for me with that simple query that I gave it. So it's successfully enabled, and do I want to go ahead and or it's been created, do I want to enable it? I'm going to go ahead and answer that yes, I want to go ahead and enable that reverse proxy. So now I'm intercepting all of the traffic to progress.cloud through localhost 888. And then now I can go back and I could do a couple of queries on my application and let it capture some of the data for that session. So we'll go back into the IDE again, and now I can do a little bit more. And I'm going to ask it to report the captured sessions and see what kind of data was in those requests. And I have to allow it. You can override the allow. Once you answer it the first time, you can say always allow this to happen, and you don't have to keep clicking on the button. But now it's telling me I've got 9 captured sessions from the progress.cloud endpoint, and I'm going to ask it to dive deeper into one of those sessions. I can see there's a couple posts, a couple gets. There's something in number 9 here that I want to see. So session number 1101. So I ask it for session number 9, and it's identified that as 1101. It's going to go ahead and get that information for me. And it says here's session 1101's details. It was a post method. It gives me some timestamps and header information. Tells me a little bit about the request body. And again, I'm dealing with a lot of JSON data and serialization in these applications that use Progress Agentic RAG. So I'm going to say, what are some of the key properties on that JSON object? Because I'm going to need these to do some more dev work on serializing. So it's going to come back and give me some information about the structure of that response. So it even gives me an example of what the schema looks like for that response. So it's come back and it says there's an answer field, there's some charting information, here's what that chart object looks like. So all of that I did without leaving the IDE. Like I'm right here in Visual Studio, and I'm asking questions using natural language about the traffic that's taking place between the application I'm debugging and the server. And I think that is really cool. Like it set up a reverse proxy for me. It captured sessions for me. It didn't have to spend extra time navigating the UI of Fiddler. Fiddler's just running in the background, interacting with the large language model and doing all of this for me. Some other new features that we got with Fiddler in this release is the Windows Network Capture mode. And this is something that was part of the iOS version of the product, and we wanted to add this to Windows as well. And this helps users capture traffic from applications that don't really respect the system proxy. And yeah, this just helps that workflow much better. The reverse proxy, I showed you, like this was enabled by the MCP server, and I did it using natural language. But if you want to set this up in the UI, there's an interface for that now, where you can just go in and set up your reverse proxy directly within Fiddler. And this is something that folks that are coming from the Fiddler Classic product might remember, and this is a powerful tool for enabling you to debug all of your software without having to leave your tooling. Like, you don't have to go in and set up all of these reverse proxies outside of the product somewhere. You can do it right here inside of Fiddler and keep moving on and be productive. We had the ability to capture some sessions and snapshots, and now we've improved this functionality. So you can now add new sessions very easily to existing snapshots. You can add live traffic to existing snapshots and add sessions from one snapshot to another. So this is taking some user feedback here and implementing it into the product, where we found that folks were having to restart this process and capture new data to get session data merged in where they wanted it. Now you can have the flexibility of adding additional data to your snapshots without having to start brand new snapshots. We've also added custom certificate support. This is something that enterprise developers wanted, so they have tighter control over the certificates installed on their end users' machines. So you would usually have to rely on a Fiddler certificate, which isn't issued by any official authority. So now you can come in and add custom certificates and rely on those, and it's much easier for our enterprise folks to use those. And speaking of enterprise, Rick and I, we deal with Cisco VPN all the time. It's a product that we're using here, but Fiddler is now automatically able to detect and bypass this to prevent any conflicts and blocking traffic. So the Cisco VPN can be kind of a nuisance, and this is an easy way to get around that nuisance is to automatically detect it.
This is a very big release for us. A lot of these features I've been seeing built in the background for a long time. I've been hearing the engineering team, languishing over getting all this stuff perfect, ready for release. We're very privileged that we get to sit here and talk about it after it's done, and polished. But really, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, in these features. The engineers, people in the backstage who build it, are really the heroes of the story. But yes, jumping right in, .NET 10 is live, and we had 0-day support for .NET 10 in Telerik Reporting, and that doesn't just happen. For people who follow our roadmap and look closely at our release notes, you would have seen support for the release candidates of .NET 10, the previews going back to preview 1. It's an iterative process, and that allows us to make sure that when it does release to manufacturing, we have that 0-day support. And some excellent improvements, come with .NET 10. Of course, improved AI support, which we'll be talking about later, enhanced security, cloud native support, developer productivity. Everything is a little bit easier to use. And .NET 10 is the new long model, so I suspect a good support time for .NET 10 going forward.
Yeah, it is our new LTS. So you'll see
Yep.
.NET 9 and .NET 10 are going to be the main two versions until next year in November, when we see .NET 11 come on board.
So Telerik Reporting, some of the new features that we've come out with in Q4 and also Q3 we'll be talking about as well. IDE-integrated AI Coding Assistant. So I believe in the last session you saw me talk about the GenAI-powered Report Insights, which we've enhanced, but that was the user-facing feature. We have an excellent developer-facing feature, the AI Coding Assistant for Telerik Reporting. And what that'll let you do, well, we'll have a dedicated session on that, but it did come out in this last release, along with other AI Coding Assistant enhancements across more environments, more platforms, improved GenAI powered report insights, that was a great feature. And Ed and I were talking before the call, and he gave me a new idea of something to try. So we'll get to try something brand new live with all of you a little later in the session. Custom report templates in the web report designer, just sort of organically, I was working with a customer who had a lot of needs for templates. And it was very convenient that the report templates for the web report designer came out in the Q4 release. So there was a lot of synergy there. Report templates, something we've had for a long time in the standalone report designer, but now moving to the web with the web-based report designer, you get a little more utility for these reusable templates. I'll be able to show a little demo of that too. And the .NET Report Designer with Code First workflow is an interesting feature. Long sought after from the legacy Visual Studio users, and the ability to work in sort of a code-based way. We'll dive into details on that too. But I think the hero of the story is going to be the AI Coding Assistant integration. So this is a great feature that allows you to connect to the Telerik Reporting MCP server to provide both insights and code generation for adding reporting features to your solutions, inquiring about what features are available, how to implement customizations. Reporting is a large distributed .NET based, but distributed decoupled architecture. There are a lot of different bits in the three verticals, and it's not always clear which ones you might need for your specific version of .NET, your specific UI front end. The AI coding assistant can save you minutes or hours of searching documentation to find the exact right way to configure reporting in your application. We had a lot of great features before, scaffolding, built-in templates, wizards, and those all work really well, particularly in greenfield solutions, file new projects. But sometimes the legacy solution, it's not quite as clear, exactly how to roll in a new feature, set up a new service, where to place your front-end components. And the UI coding system really does decrease that time of discovery and provide you with those solutions, both in a question and answer, or if you wanted, or implement this for me, while I sip my coffee and watch.
In the screenshot we've got here, Rick, you see like the to-dos up at the top. I love this. This is part of like the newer models, like GPT-5 and Sonnet 4.5. But it also works really well if you put your Copilot in planning mode first. So there's now a switch. It used to be just like ask, and then we got assistant, and then they added planning. So what you can do is switch it over to planning, ask the question like we have here, like integrate Telerik Reporting Report Designer into my application, and it will come back with a plan to execute, and then you can make changes to that plan before it runs off and just starts generating code. So you can get these nice to-do lists going, and then you can say like, I only want to implement these 5 out of the 8 to-do items, instead of it just like going bonkers and just generating a bunch of code that you might delete later.
Yeah, that's a great feature, and definitely one that I should be using more. I do tend to just for the fences and see what happens, relying on my ability to say, no, undo that. But yeah, maybe I will use some of those newer features going forward for some more complex scenarios. So I did set up a little demo ahead of time that allows, it's going to allow me to show some of the integration. So before, the pre-setup I did was to set up and configure the MCP server in Visual Studio. First, I set up the behind the scenes, the MCP server. That's available in a couple of different ways, depending on whether you're building a .NET solution or a node-based solution. So in my case, it was .NET. So there's a setup with a NuGet package. But if you were doing something with a React or Angular front end, you would probably have a node package, and you would connect to the np, get your package through npm, and be able to bring in the MCP server that way. So we give you a couple different options for how to configure your application. Once that's set up, that gives you access to the reporting coding assistant, which this demo will interrogate and ask it to do a task, which is Not necessarily that difficult, but be a little time consuming. I'm just doing a couple of validations in the beginning. I'm checking to make sure I'm in agent mode, that I'm using the right LLM, in this case, Claude Sonnet 4.5. And then I'm going to, we might be paused. I'm going to validate that the Telerik Reporting Assistant is enabled and that it's going to be used. So then I'll ask Telerik Reporting Assistant to just say, set up the Telerik Reporting REST service for me. And I sped this up a little bit, real time, real world running. It took about 3 minutes, but in the video, about 1.5 minutes or so. It's going to go and interrogate the prompt, use the MPC server, and begin the process of adding the reporting REST server. So you can see first thing it's going to do is figure out which NuGet packages it needs. It will then pull those in automatically from the Telerik private NuGet feed. It will check and see which controllers for my application need to be created. It's obviously checking the .NET version in the back end. This is a .NET 10 project, incidentally, ASP core. It's going to check that, figure out how to add a REST service for that type of project, implement the code, update the program.cs file, update the app settings.json file, add the new controllers, and then it's going to try and build the solution and discover that something went wrong. Now, I'm still doing no work here. I'm just watching this thing run. It's figuring out what went wrong during the build, iterating on its solution, getting a build success. And now the next thing it's going to do is give me some next steps. Now, this is interesting. I wasn't expecting this. I didn't ask it to provide next steps for me. But from the documentation that it referenced, it found out the next steps that I would need about how to add reports to the solution, how to add a report viewer, and it gave me the API URL that I could use to validate success, which is what I'm doing here. The success is that there isn't a big error message on the screen when I hit the reporting API endpoint. So just in a couple of minutes, it was able to detect the .NET version, find the correct way to implement the backend service, and go through that process for me. That's probably faster than I would be able to find the documentation article that would walk me through how to do this manually. It's possible I might have been able to scaffold it, but maybe not. And like you mentioned before, Ed, we do have that plan step that it would have generated for me in plan mode, which you can see on the screen. In this case,
it looks like it took care of it for you. Yeah. Like it did planning mode. This is what actually happened in plan mode. It created a plan.markdown file and it ran through the plan. Something initialized plan mode, whether you told it to or not. I don't know if it was the Telerik Reporting Assistant or if it was Copilot, but something was like, hey, we need a plan first. and went ahead and did it anyway. It could have just been Claude as well. It could have been the model just went into planning mode. But this is really cool. That last step too, that you had to take to open up the browser, if you're using additional MCP tools, other third-party things that aren't Telerik, the Playwright MCP is really cool because it has the ability to open browsers and navigate them and do all sorts of things, even take screenshots. I've been tagging it in to these workflows, so it even takes out that manual check that you did. Like it'll go out and say, hey, Playwright, go check and make sure this is live. And then it'll come back, and if there's an error, like even if it's like a JavaScript error or something random like that, it'll start troubleshooting it. And then I've had it where the Playwright and the Telerik assistants are talking to each other, and it's like, all right, I want the screen to look like this, and then it gives it a screenshot, and then Playwright is taking screenshots of the live browser that's running and then feeding it back into the Telerik assistants, like, make these changes, this screenshot's not right, and then you see it like just taking multiple screenshots and moving the layout around and things is really interesting.
No, you definitely give it some additional context and some more prompts. Since it knew the next steps and the URL to use to validate, had I asked it to launch and validate for me automatically as part of my prompt, it would have gone ahead and done that as well. So because I just told it to implement the feature, it provided me some context about the next things I could do, but didn't take the initiative to do them for me. So I guess it's it all comes down to how specific you ask it in the prompt. In this case, it was pretty simple. Do this one unique task for me, and it did it very well. And like I said, in less time than it would have taken me to go find the right documentation article.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was a very quick sample of what the AI coding assistant can do. Of course, many more things. It can add web-based report designers. It can add web and desktop report viewers. We have an entire collection of sample props in the documentation, which you can try out and experiment with these features. But for the sake of time, we can move on to the improved GenAI powered report insights. So go back one slide. Thank you. So this is a feature that we added in Q3 and we recently enhanced in this latest release. This gives you the ability to interrogate a running report using natural language prompts, asking it to look at the data, look at the charts, and provide you some meaningful information. This is really a great feature, and it's enabled by a collection of metadata, which is embedded in the reporting at the rendering process to sort of feed and this data into the AI at runtime. So instead of having to process and figure out what the sections of a pie chart look like if there wasn't data on the screen, that meta information is behind the scenes in all reports now to sort of enable that AI, Gen AI, contextual search, for insights. So we'll play with that a little bit. And of course, I believe it is using the by default the retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. One of the new things we added is a customizable experience in configuration files. You could turn off RAG if you wanted to. You could provide default prompts. And also by default, there is the first time this is launched in your own application, there's a confirmation validation that you want to use it. That's turned on by default, but it can be disabled if you want to disable that initial end user check. So we've definitely enhanced and provided some more features around the Gen AI powered insights.
I really love the RAG capabilities here. I mean, it's taking essentially all the metadata that's here and embedding that into semantic meaning. So when you type in your natural language queries and things, it can find information so much easier and then inject that back into the results.
Absolutely. It's much faster because of that information that's in the report. Instead of, like I said, having to analyze the picture and try and derive meaning from it. The meaning is there, even if you're not seeing it as an end user. It's intrinsic to the report. We talked about it in the beginning, but we do have the report templates in the web report designer now, and those are available by default. And what a template allows you to do is, like, a very common scenario is, let's imagine you're a company and you produce documents that have to be on a uniform letterhead. You want to have your logo in a certain place. You want to have the address, phone number at the top. You can produce a template with all of that reusable information, all that styling, all that alignment, everything that you want to be able to reuse, be reused in reports, and add that to your report template collection. And then when a user wants to generate a new report, they can base the report on that template and save all the time it would take to generate all that initial styling. And this can be as simple or as complex, as you want. You can have executive templates, letterhead templates, label templates. If you are producing, labels and you want to provide a predefined label configuration sheet, really the sky is the limit. And we've had templating for a while in our platform tools, but adding it to the web report designer was sort of the next logical step for us as more and more things transition to the web and to the cloud. Having these features available across all of the end user tooling is it's good for us and it's good for our users. So the dotnet report designer with code first workflow is an interesting feature for people who aren't aware of the history of Telerik reporting. I will very quickly mention. So if you go back in time to before reporting was decoupled, before it was asynchronous, before it supported all the different UI endpoints, it was pretty much a strictly .NET embedded service. Everything was synchronous and everything was pre-built and pre-compiled, including reports, which were class objects, usually stored in a class library in C# or VB, built in Visual Studio. So that's much different from how reporting is done today. You needed a developer for every change request. You had to recompile at least one assembly, if not your entire solution, to make any change to any report. It wasn't a great workflow. Definitely wasn't user friendly. We've come a long way since then, but because that was we're starting of reporting, we still have users that have hundreds, thousands maybe of reports built using these more legacy designer files and C# code files. And not wanting to abandon them, we have designed a way to work with code files directly in our standalone report designer. So that removes any reliance on other third-party IDEs and tooling that's outside of our control, and brings everything directly under Telerik's power to control the life cycle of those reports. So using the Single Report Designer, not only can you open and edit older legacy reports, if you wanted to, you could create new code-based reports in the Standalone Report Designer as well. And that allows you to programmatically, make changes to reports, as we're seeing in the screenshot here. The item data bound event can be defined, for a text box, and give you really granular control over items in a report that you might need that level of control over. But I think the lion's share of the interest is going to be around people with legacy reports and want to either maintain, update, or eventually transition those to the serializable XML-based reporting system.
I could see AI being helpful with this as well.
Absolutely.
Because it can scan and understand the code here, so it can help you make changes, especially on legacy stuff. Because with legacy stuff, it's always like it's something is handed to you. It's never something like the person that worked on this 10 years ago is still here.
Yeah.
They're like, here's this thing that some engineer built 10 years ago, and he hasn't talked to anybody from the company for 5. And then you could come in with Copilot and say, help me figure out how to add a feature here. On to Telerik Report Server, Rick. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'll very quickly cover Telerik Report Server, what it is for anyone who isn't aware, hasn't listened to me do one of these webinars before. So everything we talked about previously was the Telerik Reporting SDK, a collection of UI developer kits, developer UI components and libraries to add reporting features embedded in newer or existing applications. Report Server is built from the Reporting SDK, but is a complete product on its own. It's in its own right, a complete soup to nuts login to generate enterprise tier, reporting solution. So as we, continue to iterate on that, adding new features, everything that Telerik Reporting gets eventually makes its way into Report Server, and we're able to provide a lot of value with a lot of these features. So some of the new things that we had in the last release are a better way to control access to Report Server, both internally and externally. We'll discuss that. But that using a token system, which I think is pretty much the gold standard now of security, is to use an API access token, Java Web Token, instead of embedded credentials. It really is more secure, the ability to quickly expire, a token, or have one auto expire for you. And we're happy to be able to offer, that level of security to our users. And that also works hand in hand with the embedded web viewers in reportserver.net. Just some nomenclature. Report Server, when it initially launched, was built for .NET Framework. So generally, when we say Report Server, it's referring to the .NET Framework version. Reportserver.net or rs.net is the version built for, obviously, .NET. And the last version released was .NET 8 Plus, so all the way up through .NET 10 as well. Something else we added is a dedicated reportserver.net installer. This is available to any trial users or licensed customers on your Telerik account. It's a dedicated MSI installer only for the reportserver.net product. Previously, we had one large installer for Report Server and reportserver.net. Kind of chose, you chose your own story at one point in the installer. Adding new white labeling to reportserver.net. This was an existing feature in report server for .NET Framework, but now we brought over white labeling to reportserver.net to allow you to style the application to match your corporate branding, add your own logos, your own design system. It's at a basic level now, but of course we'll continue iterating on that until we have an excellent white labeling system. And of course, being built for .NET, it does have a Linux installation available, both as a Docker package or via the Azure Marketplace. You can choose some installation options directly in Azure. So the access token system. This is really interesting. So users can generate their own tokens directly in report server, and then those tokens are used to provide access to any reports, read-only access to any reports that individual user has access to. Now, what you're not seeing in the screenshot is that that token can be set to expire in 7 days, all the way up to 1 year. So you have a lot of control over how you provide access and to whom you provide access to your individual reports. So why would that be needed is probably a question. So a lot of users, a lot of customers and organizations are using report server internally as a report versioning system or a single source of truth, a common workplace to design, build, maintain their library of reports, but they provide access to their user base, either internal or external, via an external embedded report viewer. That would be a component in our reporting SDK library that we talked about previously, Telerik Reporting, or Telerik Reporting SDK, as I call it. So with reportserver.net as the backend and Telerik Reporting SDK as the front end, you can use one of these access tokens to tie the two together in a very secure and very narrow way, providing access to one or many reports for your authorized users. So as I mentioned, the embedded report viewers, in this case, this is one of our HTML5 report viewers. There's a great number of these available for various UI endpoints, but embedded viewers for reportserver.net allow you to connect to, again, that reportserver.net backend, which may be your report repository, using those access tokens. And there are a great many ways that you can store and retrieve those tokens. We have recommendations in our documentation. You're seeing one on the screen here, where you set up your own backend. But I think the general gold standard is to use some sort of a keyless or another key store in order to sort of maintain your access tokens and then provide them to the front end. And as I mentioned, we did add a dedicated installer for reportserver.net. I will say it is extremely fast. I used it a couple of days ago when I was updating my own systems on this laptop, and it ran through the entire installation in, I would say, less than a minute. Honestly, it took me longer during configuration to get the stupid connection string to the database correct than it did to install the entire product beginning to end. So the new reportserver.net dedicated installer is lightning fast. It has only the bits you need for reportserver.net and nothing more.
I like that it's not interrupting the services either.
Yes. So if you have an existing installation, it will allow you to do that and migrate your existing reports and databases as well.
No downtime. That's always good.
Absolutely. So the GenAI-powered Report Insights, we have a great demo of that, which I'll be showing, but they are available in the reportserver.net optionally. I'm not sure if it's on or off by default, to be honest with you, but in the configuration option under AI, you can turn it on if it's not already on, or if for some reason you want to turn it off, you could do that there as well, and also configure it to your own LLM provider. All from within reportserver.net. This is an amazing feature. I highly recommend everyone turn it on and utilize it heavily. So reportserver.net, now with the basic white labeling feature, as I mentioned before, you can add accent colors, selected colors, import your own logos, your own selected files. This allows you to sort of just brand the report server solution to match your own company's style. You take a little bit of control, make it look like a developed solution instead of a purchased solution. directly from within Report Server, just a couple of Report Server.net, excuse me, just a couple of drop downs and logo selects. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's something that's missed if it's not there. With the new Linux installation, of course, you can spin up Report Server, easily in Linux in minutes, lower cost VMs in the cloud. There is packages for it already in Docker. If you want to install through there, we have Docker Compose files available. It's available via wizards for you. So you really have a lot of control over where you can set up and install your report server.net. Now it's time for me to share and go through some of the demos that I put together. So this is a demo of our Gen Insights, based on one of our reports. So to use the insights, you would, in the report viewer toolbar, find this little 3-star AI prompt, and that allows you to open the Ask AI. Now we have some prompt suggestions. As I mentioned, these are some of the things that could be configured in the new configuration files for AI prompts, or you can also enter your own sort of natural language question. So taking a quick look at the chart here, we'll find something to ask. So I like to make my prompts a little, you make it work a little bit for the answer. Last time I demoed this, actually, someone pointed out that I made several typos, and it still figured out what I was asking. So let's not use any words that are actually in my data set. So let's see. So let's ask, what sells better? Fruit or veggies?
I love how typo tolerant large language models are because I'm a terrible speller.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so that was pretty fast. Again, lots of metadata in the report. It's not needing to reprocess, re-render anything, and it's able to analyze the report and find fruits and intelligently figure out that veggies means vegetables, and look at the data. And since I didn't provide any limiting factors, any years it's using, it knew enough to use the subtotal and can tell me that fruits sell better than vegetables. I guess no real surprise there. So let's try something a little more interesting. So we have milk and milk alternatives, I notice, under dairy. So I'm curious what sells better, cow milk or oat milk? So
To try some slang sometime, like see if it knows what the sales for moo juice are. Like, see how flexible the models are with stuff.
I would have tried it, if we could all find out together. But it is figuring out that oat milk isn't a milk alternative. And it is telling me that, let's see, using the total sales for milk and the milk alternatives. And yeah, it looks like it's getting the information right. I guess milk alternatives would include more than just oat milk, though, so that probably also has something to do with the higher value, oat milk, almond milk, all the different milks. But yeah, so the surprise that I alluded to before was Ed said, I wonder what would happen if you provided the prompt in German. So I did a little Google Translate here, and this should be the same prompt. If there's any German speakers, I apologize for any errors. This should be the same thing I just asked, but translated to German. And if we kind of just look at the result, which it does provide the answer, I guess I could have asked it to provide the answer in English, but just looking at what it said, I think we can kind of figure out that it still understood what I was asking for and provided the correct answer to me, 5,165, which is the same answer I got in English. So I think that was really interesting.
It's also correlating the data point there. You can see the word in English milk in parentheses and quotes. So it's identifying like that the data is in English, but you've asked in German, so it's making sure it notes like where in the data it's found that.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah, this is really powerful stuff because you can hand this to somebody, and you could be working in like that multilingual environment, and somebody can just ask questions in their native language and get answers back in their native language versus trying to translate internally in their own their own thoughts and do that translation into Y and click through things, and just makes it much more easier to analyze data when you think in your own language while you do it. Um, Very powerful stuff.
No, I absolutely agree. And translation service is a thing that's been a long sought feature in reporting, which is
Yeah, the
non-trivial.
things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I say it's non-trivial to reply because even though we can do culture and localization globalization, like a translation of data in the report is a hard problem to crack, especially with all the languages in the world and making sure you have a certain level of fidelity and accuracy. But something like a natural language processor that allow you to not only ask the question in any language you want, but also get your answer in that language. It really does. It really is a game changer.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that, but this type of feature relies on the large language model at play. So it depends on the large language model's training, and if it was trained in German or other languages, whether it will get those results back to you or not. So if you're configured with a model that doesn't support multiple languages, it will only do whatever the native language is for that model. But most of the newer large language models are trained on such a variety of languages, you're probably not going to run into issues on it.
Absolutely. I think we'll have to do some experimenting later, Ed, and see what we can make work here.
Yeah, the natural language processing is one of the things that is not highlighted enough with all of the generative AI stuff that gets talked about. Like we see chatbot demos until we're blue in the face. It's like the to-do list. If you're a developer, you know what the to-do list demo is. Like everybody's got an Angular to-do list app or a WinUI to-do list app. Like that's like the chat interface for large language models. It's like we get it. It can talk like humans, but what else can it do? And the language translation and understanding semantic meaning behind things is such a much more incredible feat than generating some text that looks like it was typed by a human, in my opinion.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So let's jump over to Telerik Report Server for .NET. I will kind of log in and authenticate. There we go. I guess the service went to sleep, but it's working now. And running enterprise software on your laptop, sometimes you get some unexpected results.
In a hotel on hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, in hotel Wi-Fi on one monitor. We're doing it live, folks. Okay, so this is a fresh report server .NET installation, just basic configuration and tied to a backend database. I really haven't done much here. A couple of features I wanted to show. We talked about the access tokens. So those are really simple to generate. You just go to your username, drop down, access tokens, create token, and you can give it a name, give it an expiration date, and I just immediately have an access token that I can use, copy, put it into my data store, my key repository, and use that to access externally any report that I have access to, provide access to other users using the same token who I want to access the reports that I have access to. Really provides a lot of power. And you can have more than one token. Easy to enable, easy to disable, delete. This is really, really the future of access control in report server. But that's a very simple interface here. What I want to do is go back over to the report manager and point out that we have this share button here. What this would do, I don't think I turned on the guest account yet. No, again, it's a brand new installation. But had I enabled and set up the guest account, this would generate sort of automatically on the back end an access token for the guest account, which I believe expires in 7 days after generation by default, all configurable, of course, and then provide me a link to provide access to this one specific report that I can then attach to an email, send to a user, and give them access to a report that's in my report warehouse without them having to install, run, or anything. Just follow the link and it'll take you directly to what would be this page by authenticating using the access token and showing the report until that token expires. That workflow makes sharing reports with anyone who needs to see that data very simple. Yeah, I think honestly all the other features in report server.net are kind of all set up configuration installation, which are kind of difficult to demo. But the last thing I can probably show off is the template system in the standalone report designer. And I don't know if I dare try and use Visual Studio with my limited resources. I'll give it a try. If my computer crashes, that finish the session for me. I'm gonna just pop open the demo solution that comes with every installation of Telerik Reporting. This includes demos for all of the .NET versions, all of the different UI architectures. There's a lot of projects in here because we support a lot of different application types. As you can see, .NET 10, 9, and 8 are provided, .NET Framework. Within each of these folders, different solutions for different UI types, Blazor, HTML, everything included. Now it's gonna bug me. I'm just gonna use the HTML5 demo here, and I just want to find the web report designer, which is the feature we talked about, which had the new template system. And let's tell it to launch. The packages are already there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are you really sure?
See, I told you I was sure. So this is a demo that I built the other night. Again, simple Acme company here. What you can do is any report, we'll give Ed his own company.
We're trying to talk progress into this for a long time.
Well, good luck. We'll have the letterhead ready when you finally do. So simple report, you can use it as a, I just closed them, yep. Simple report, any report, that you can make, you can turn into a template quite simply. All you have to really do is go to File, Save As, and tell it to save that report as a template. And this is all sort of done automatically behind the scenes. This I want to save as a letterhead. If you already have one with the same name, it'll ask you to overwrite. But it's really that simple. The TRTX extension you can see here on the side is the template extension. This all happens behind the scenes. Again, I really didn't do anything to set this up. It's just automatically available. So I can just create a new report now. Let's see, I think I'm up to report 3 at this point. And ask it to generate a report from a template. Clicking on this icon brings you to the assets manager in Report Server. And this utility manages all of the assets, including report templates. Here's my letterhead, open, and create. And now I have a report 3, which was generated from the underlying template. And you can begin your work now of adding the rest of the information you need in your report. So this is relatively simple. A text box, a picture, an icon. These can be amazingly complex, as well. So anything that you have that's going to be common across many reports, in your repository, this is a great way to save a ton of time and sort of bootstrap your users and give them access to, common assets. From this release, really, that's all I can demo.
If you'd like to talk to any of us over chat, we have a Discord channel set up. All you got to do is join, and we're talking about all sorts of things in there, not just report server or Fiddler, but AI and front-end development and C# and all sorts of stuff. So just jump into the Discord channel, say hi to everybody there, and start a new conversation or join in on one. And then if you need your bits or you want to start a free trial, go to telerik.com, click the big free trial button up at the top for the product that you'd like to try. Generally, we have a 30-day free trial of all of our things. So give those a look. Let us know how they work for you. We will see you next year, everybody. Take care.